Hello everyone, I hope you guys are doing well today. I'm back with a very short tips and tricks video for you today. And we are talking about elastic. A lot of people ask me how I put my elastic in because they think that looks nice and flat, or I'm doing it a certain way and they like the way of that it looks. So I'm going to show you how I put my elastic in. Now, I do elastic a couple of different ways. I will use it around my armholes. I'll use it around a keyhole opening. I'll use it around a neck. But then I also, of course, use it in the panty. Now, when I do it in the panty, I'm stretching that elastic as hard as I can so that that panty really stays down, because there's nothing worse than a wedgie in your panty. But around arms and neck and keyholes, I do different amounts of stretch, and it's not a lot. It's just enough to give a little bit of a base and not to be flippy floppy opening, but it's also not pulled so tight that when it's off, you're getting a small armhole or whatnot. So I'm going to show you how I do that. Now, I like to use a 3/8 inch braided elastic. Now, for years, because I like to have around the edge of my mesh pieces, whether it's nude or color, I like to have a nude elastic in there. So for years, every week, I would cut up some elastic. It was usually cotton because that's what dyes. And I would cut up pieces and I would take it home and I would get the RIT dye out and I would hand dye my elastic every week. And after doing that for, 10 years or so, you kind of get a little like, okay, I'm overdoing this. So I finally looked into having somebody manufacture some for me. So I had some manufactured, and I've been selling, I've had this for years. I've been using this for years, but I've been also selling it because I have to buy a ton of it when I manufacture it. And so I thought, if I'm looking for it, I know other people are looking for it. So I sell this on my website. So you can go to my stock website. I've reopened my stock website. So everything that is ready to ship from me is on that website. And that website is G as in Griffey's stock.com. So you can buy this elastic there, and people who have been using it say that it's their favorite elastic they've ever used. It has really nice bounce back. So if you get some of the cheaper stuff, it's flimsy, it will dye on you. And when I say dye, I guess maybe the elastic fibers that are in it are cheaper. And so they're fine at first maybe, but then after a couple of years, it starts wearing down. When you start stretching it, it may start popping. I know that I had a couple of spools of some old elastic that was maybe a little thicker that I went to go use. And I was like, oh, I have that width. And I went to pull it, and it just, you could feel all the little stretchy rubber fibers inside pop. So this stuff is really good quality, and it doesn't do that. I mean, I still have a couple original rolls from when I got it 10 years ago, and it is still just as good as this new stuff. And I just had a new batch come in. So I have plenty for everybody for right now. I sometimes get a little greedy when I get a little low, and I'm like, I don't want people to know that I have this because I don't want to run out of it. But I do have a new batch in, and people really, really like this. Now you can use this behind, like I said, your nude and your colored mesh. And what that does is it blends in with the skin. Because if you use white, or if you use a black or whatever, you're going to see that line around it. And this just makes everything so seamless. And plus, this has such a nice bounce back, and it lays so flat. That's what a lot of people have said, is that they like how flat that it lays. So when we get to this point in the video, when I show you how I'm doing it, you will see how beautifully it lays when you put it in that mesh. Now, I also, since I have so much of it, I put this in the elastic panty. However, if you're buying it, and because this stuff I sell it for $80, which kind of seems expensive, but it is 144 yards on a roll. So that's only 55 cents per yard. That's not too bad, especially for something that is great quality and is in this specialty color that I've had made. Now, I had it dyed to match, if anybody buys from Spanx House, I had it dyed to match the mocha color that they have in their stock colors. So it's the same color as that. And it works great if you're doing nudes. It works great if even if you have a lighter nude than that mocha or a little bit darker. It works behind there. Now, I know that nude is not a color. Nude is not a color. Nude is what we are and something that we want it to blend into our skin. So there may be some of y'all who are watching thinking, I am not a little white girl. I'm not a little Asian girl. I'm not a little pale person. Well, I also have some darker colors that I'm hoping to get in. And this is a brown. So this is what I use on my darker shades, and it works really, really good. So if you are interested in having some nude mesh, but this is too light for you and you need something darker, please comment below. Please send me an email. I'm hoping to get some in. So this is the same, it will be the same quality, but it will just be in a darker color so that everybody has their shade. So I think I'm going to be able to get a couple of different shades of browns so that it can match everybody, so everybody can find their color. But as of right now, the main stock that I have is the standard, what I call my white girl nude. And so if you want some of this, please go to bradgstock.com and order some. All right, let's get on with the video. I'm just really good, and I feel like now that I've started these YouTube videos, I feel like y'all are my friends. I love talking to y'all, but I just get to jibber jabbering. Sometimes I'm editing this stuff and I'm like, Brad, you are talking and talking and talking. So hopefully y'all don't mind my jibber jab. That's what I call it, my jibber jabbing. So please, you know, if you get annoyed with my jibber jab and you just want to get to the actual like meat and potatoes of my videos, there will be little chapter times below so that you can say like, oh, he's doing this part of whatever and he's doing this part, and so you can just go to that if you don't want to hear me jibber jab. But if you enjoy just having somebody drone on and on about whatever crap comes into their brain, then just watch the whole video. It gives me more watch hours, which helps me get to that monetization that I've been wanting to get to, but I'm still slowly chugging along to get there. All right, so I'm going to take you over to my sewing machines, and we can I can show you how I do the magic with the elastic. All right, one thing that I forgot to post in this video, so I'm not sure where I'll edit this in, maybe towards the end, but anyway, we talked about 3/8 inch nude elastic, and then I was hopefully getting some rolls of the darker colors for people who need a darker shade. Please comment below. Do you guys use different widths? So this is a 3/8 inch, but I also have some that I could possibly get that is, I believe this is a 1/4 inch. So it's a thinner than the 3/8 inch. I use this basically to do like my little wedding point finger loops. And I can slightly sew it in, but it's so thin that I have a hard time holding it and sewing it in and then flipping it. But do any of you guys have like a foot that you could use this on? Because if you can and you need a nude elastic in a smaller width, or if you like thicker widths, please comment below so that I know that, because I'm going to look into maybe getting a couple of different options color-wise and then widths-wise. So please let me know if you are looking for something similar to this, but you don't like using the 3/8 inch. I think 3/8 inch is the perfect width. But I know some people have said that they like to use a 1/4. So do you like the 1/4? Let me know what you think and what you would like. All right, back to the video. Ooh. All right, we are in my sewing space where I make all the magic happen, hopefully sewing a costume together. So I'm gonna go over a couple of different ways that I attach the elastic into a costume. So I have a dress here that we are gonna do it on. Now this is just so that you can get a visual, this is my made to order style E80. And if you see the picture, it has the high neck. And then there's going to be hooks that go down on one side so that they can be unhooked, and then the person can crawl in through the kind of armhole, and it makes it bigger to do it that way. So I'm going to show you how I do one armhole that's totally looped, and then I'll show you how I do the other armhole that is just basically not looped. And then I'll show you a couple little, just do on some strap pieces, how, because this will be nude, so it'll be seamless with the nude elastic. And then I'll show you how I do it on color. Now there's different ways, I pull at different amounts. Now I'm hand feeding it into my machines because I know you can use an attachment on your machine that will feed it in. I like to have the feel of it, like the touch and the feel of like, okay, I want it, how tight I want it or not tight. Now in the arm area, I don't really pull it too tight. I just want it just slightly pulled because I like it when it sits on the hanger that it's not, totally like crunched up. I like it to still have a nice sit. So this is just basically because the dress as well is stretching on the body, so it will even stretch a little more. So if you're pulling it too tight, it may feel too tight under the arms. It may even show little wrinkles. So I like to do it so that it kind of is laying flat against the body. So by doing it that way, you're not pulling it tight. Now, if I have a costume, I have a couple of styles. I'll try to put in a picture here where it has a really big, open, deep back. Now with that, I do have to pull the elastic pretty tight because you want to make sure that it sits on the back and it doesn't fall off the shoulders and any of those ways. So, okay, so we're going to sit down at my sewing machine. I'm going to show you how I feed it into the machine and then how I flip it and then finish it off. And then once we do that, then we can talk about putting the elastic in the panty, because I do that a completely different way than when I'm doing it on the mesh edges. All right, so let's get to it. All right, we are sitting in front of my sewing machine. Now I use Baby Lock and the type is Victory. The model is Victory. It used to be called the Imagine. So if you were able to pick up maybe a used machine, the Victory and the Imagine are the exact same machine. They just rebranded the name a few years back. But this machine works really great. So this is a machine I always keep my nude thread on for putting in this elastic. I even use it when I'm on a color, because if you were to use color thread, and we're going to go over this in a second, but if you were to use color thread on this on a color, say if we're going to be working with royal today, if it was a royal mesh and you use royal thread, when you go to flip it, you're going to be able to see through that and you're going to see a line of royal. So you want to make sure that you keep it nude. All right, so first thing that I am going to do, so I have this is I have one needle in here, so it's currently at its 3 thread, because this machine can do 3 thread or 4 thread. So 4 thread will give you like what you want in a seam like this, where it's thicker, and then as you will see when we go to sew, the 3 thread will give you, or 1 needle will give you, a thinner line. All right, so I've got the dress here. Now we're going to sew on the side that is all attached. So this is where it's looped through. The other side here is where the opening will be, and then it will hook together. So as you can see, it's not attached. So let's start on this side. So I like to start at the bottom seam, and I always like to flip my seams to the front of the dress, because that is where I guess the way that the line works, it looks better that way. All right, so I'm just going to place it on top like this, and I can open up the machine, and you just place it maybe a 1/2 inch or so before the seam, because you're going to go back over it. So then we just start sewing, and then I like it to sit right against, this is my knife blade right here. I like it to sit kind of next to it. Now you need to be careful not to cut it, so you have to kind of work it. But I've done it so much that I've really, figured a way to like where it sits, especially on these Baby Lock Victory machines. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slightly pull. You don't want to pull too much. Like I'm just basically just pulling about that much. Like you can pull it out to there. I'm basically just pulling it a little bit so that it just has a little bit of give. But remember, it will still stretch. Like you don't have to worry about it. Especially on this, if you want it to lay nice and flat, which is what I think a lot of people like about my dresses. So I'm just going to pull it slightly, and then we just let it run through. You can see, that's just pretty easy, and it just stays kind of in place, and it's just kind of sitting on the edge of the knife, but you want to make sure you're not pulling this way. But I just let it kind of sit on that knife edge and then pull just lightly. And we can go around this armhole. And once we get back to the side, we want to, here, maybe I should go a little more, hold on. Once we get it back around, so this is where we started, we kind of want to stop it about here. So you're overlapping about 1 inch or so. Just go off, and then you can use your snips. Snip. Now you want to make sure as well that like the edge here, like they're lined up. So mine are lined up, but if they're slightly off, you can just trim it a little bit, and then it will be even. And that is how it gets in there. So it's not super stretched against the fabric, but see, it will lay nice and flat once we flip it, because we're going to flip it once we get to the other machine. Now let's do the other side. So basically on this side, I'm just going to start at the top and then go around. So we're not starting, it's not starting at the bottom, because there'll be hooks on this side. So once again, we just place it in the machine, let it sit against that knife edge, and go around. Just lightly pull, and you kind of get the hang of it. You can do some tests to see what do you like, how much tightness do you like, but I don't like it too tight. We're going to do a test when I show you what it looks like when it's too tight, and it doesn't look super great. We just let it lay against, and then we pull it. See, it cuts off a little bit of that excess mesh right around the edge. And then we snip her off. All right. Now that we've done that, I'm going to switch you over to my machine over here, and we can talk about how I finish off the edge so it's nice and clean. All right, now we're sitting at my my Nude. I always keep Nude on this sewing machine. Now this is a Bernina, and it says B330, but there's many different models that they have. So I just get the most basic one, and that can just do zigzag, straight stitch, and then I like to use a reinforced stitch that basically just goes back and forth. But on this today, we're going to use a zigzag stitch. So I have it on about 3. Let's see, I'm going to flip you up a little bit. I have you on about 3 here, and then about 2.5 up. So I guess 3 across and 2.5 stitch length. All right, so flip you back down. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip it over, and then I'm going to just sew with a zigzag right down this line. So we'll put her in. Just kind of let it, I kind of like let the foot, the edge of this elastic, I like it kind of have it there, and I'm just almost the leftmost side of the zigzag is hitting right on the edge. And I'm not really stretching here too much, even though that we stretch the elastic. It's kind of like in its place that it needs to be. You're just maybe slightly pulling it. But I'm also pulling this way with my hand, because then it keeps all the fabric going this way. Because if you were to knot and it went this way, you could get little bunches here. You want to keep, you're kind of wanting to put tension against this edge here so that everything lays nice and flat once you finish it off. All right, so now we can snip. Now, if you don't know about snips, I didn't know about these for years, but I found out about them, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. But they just snip off the thread so easy. try to put a link below. Or you know what? I think there is a link on my Amazon store where you can buy these. All right, so now we can see that lays nice and beautiful and flat and gives a nice edge inside and out. So you're not pulling a lot, but it's enough because, you know, the dress still will, like when it's on the person, it will kind of pull like that. But this just makes it so that it also lays nice when it's on a hanger and it's not all bunched up and crinkled. So you don't really need on this part to have it pulled super tight like you do maybe on the other parts. But see, but doing that right on that edge there just gives a nice little zigzag on there. And it's just nice and clean. It looks nice, right? All right. So I'm gonna do the other side, and then we'll do a colored mesh version. I'm also gonna put some in some lycra so that you can see how I do it on lycra, because I actually use a straight stitch when I do it on lycra. And I know that sounds crazy, but just wait and see. All right, I'm gonna finish this up and then we will go on to the next part. All right, now I just have a piece of blue mesh here, and I'm gonna put it in the same exact way that I did when we did on the nude. Slightly pull. And now I'm gonna pull it so tighter. I'm pulling it, you know, more like that, just so that you can see. You'll be able to see the difference from where we started and it's slightly pulled to there. Now I'm going to take you to the other machine so that you can see what it looks like when we flip it. All right, we are on my color thread machine here. It's basically a similar model Bernina as the other one where I keep my nude on at all times. Okay, so we're just flipping it again like we did. Make sure you're pulling this direction so that it lays nice and flat against this edge. Now when we get down here, this is where we've stretched it more. And then if you don't pull it, I'm going to show you what that looks like. All right. So we've got it nice and flat there. And then where you pull it a little tighter, it's actually not too bad, but it's pulled. So you can decide what you want to do, but I like doing it more this way when I have a big open back. Now, this is what it looks like when you don't pull it. It gives you those. I mean, it will pull out once you do it there, but it just looks so much nicer like this, don't you think? And we've got this side. And also remember, since this is color, you can use a color thread as your zigzag, but don't use color to serge it in, because then you would see a line of blue, a thicker line. Whereas here it kind of seamlessly blends in with everything there, as you can see. So it looks nice and clean. Now I already sewed together a piece of lycra. I did it where I did a slight pull, and then I'm doing down here where if you pull it a lot. I say in a lycra, do it straight. Now you can use a straight stitch on this. And the reason why you can use a straight stitch on this, but you cannot use a straight stitch on mesh. Mesh is too thin, so it will break. This lycra, especially if you're using a few layers, it's got enough thickness that it kind of still makes the straight stitch stretch, and I'll show you. Now I like doing a straight stitch because I just think it looks nice and clean on the lycra. So this is what it would look like. So nice and clean. This is where we pulled it a little more, so you see it's a little bit. But you can still pull it if you want. I just wouldn't pull it too much. But see that you can still get some good stretch out of that because there is a thickness here, whereas in the mesh part, it is not as thick. So hopefully this helps, but I just think that looks so nice and clean when you do it that way on a piece of lycra. So you don't need to do a zigzag, and just do it as a folded over straight stitch, but it still gives lots of stretch. Now I don't know if it will work if you don't have your tension right on your machine. This may not work, but my tension is correct, so it still stretches. All right, now that I have shown you how I put it into the armholes or around the edge of like a neckline or the back, I'm going to show you how I do the panty elastic. Now, I like my panties not to ride up in the fanny area. You don't want to get a wedgie. You want it to stay nice and down on the buttocks, right? You don't want it to look like a thong. I don't think anybody wants to be skating or dancing around with a thong. You don't want to be picking at it. You want it to just stay in place. So how I do that is I pull that elastic as tight as it goes. Now I know some people do this differently. I know some people like measure out. I know some people will say, oh, you have to make it like 80% of whatever the opening is, or whatever that, you know, that calculation is. For me, I just put it in there and I pull as tight as it will go, because it will, you know, it still will stretch out once it gets on a body. Plus, that keeps it so that it just really hugs tightly to the body. And so, you know, I feel like when I see my girls, they're not getting wedgies. So if you're not pulling it tight enough, it's gonna move. It's gonna give you a wedgie. So you do not want that. So I'm gonna show you how I put that in and I pull it. Now, I feel like I'm pulling really, really tight. Sometimes in these videos, when I've seen myself do them and go back and actually look at the footage, it doesn't look like I'm pulling it as tight as I am. But on this part, I'm basically pulling it as tight as it will go. Now, you do not, now this is with my braided elastic, okay? So I want you to keep that in mind. This stuff is very stretchy and it has nice bounce back. But if you are using something that is very flimsy and thin and you do this and you're pulling it as tight as possible, it may end up looking like this because it is so stretchy and then it comes back in. However, if it's really stretchy, it probably will still stretch out. But I'm using, keep in mind, I'm using a braided elastic, which does have a limit of how far it will stretch, but it has good bounce back. And so that's also a reason probably why my girls aren't getting wedgies, is because it's pulling in. Whereas if you get something too thin or too stretchy, it will just kind of stretch out or not really stay in place. So keep that in mind if you are using something that isn't a nice quality braided elastic like I use. All right, let's sit down at the sewing machine and I will show you how I do it. All right, now we can put the elastic around the panty. I like to do this on my color thread machine, and I like to do it with the 4 thread, so 2 needles. So basically we're doing just like the armhole. We're going to go about 1 inch over the seam in the center crotch. So a little bit to get it going. And then what I'll do is I just pull as tight as it goes. But you see this has some good bounce back. So just pull really tight. Try to keep it along that knife edge. Just keep pulling tight. You just go all the way around. So if you've been pinning in your elastic, I don't say you need to do that. That takes extra time. For me, I found this is just quick and easy, that I can just pull it tight and then sew her on up. And then we're just going to go over about 1 inch at the end. We can snip her off. All right, I'm going to do the other side, and then I can show you how I finish it off. All right, again, I will just do a straight stitch on this. You can do a zigzag if you feel more comfortable, but I like doing straight stitch around the edge of my panty. Oop, I got it on the zigzag, straight stitch. And I just pull, I pull this way, I'm pulling this way, fabric this way, and then I'm pulling it tight this way, down. And I'm also pulling, kind of doing lots of things. Also pulling, I'm having to pull back, so I'm pulling like this. It's all kind of like an art of figuring out how you do it. So pulling, I guess I'm pulling, I'm putting this down against right here and kind of pulling this way, and then using my thumb to pull that direction, and then I'm pulling with my right hand down. really is a fine art to like figure out exactly how to do it. But then once you're done, it's just so nice and easy. But see, that's pulled tight. And then you pull it out, and it's nice and clean. So you get a lot of stretch there, and it will still hold tight against the body. And you're just hitting right here on the edge. Just like that, we are done with the panty. All right, I hope this video was helpful. Now I'm gonna do an outro here, so you will see me now. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this little video of how I put my elastic in my costumes. Now, if you guys do it a different way and you would like to share, please comment below and let me know, and maybe I'll try it out that way. Because I get so used to just quickly working that I will continue to do something, you know, even though it may be a harder way to do it. And then finally one day I see something or I realize something and I'll do it a different way. But I've been doing my elastic like this for years and years and years and years. So if you do it a different way, like if you're using a foot to put it in, or if you're holding it a different way, or you have any ideas, please leave it below. Or this may be the perfect way to do it. I don't know. So hopefully this gives you inspiration to try this and to try my elastic, because I really, really love the quality of this. And it's just so beautifully made, and it has such good bounce back. That's what I always look for in fabrics or elastics or whatever, is like, does it bounce back? You know, sometimes these, you know, I'm going to show you this. Hold on, pause. All right, unpause. One thing that I don't like about the 4-way lycras is that, like, it has good bounce back, but if you puncture it or do anything like that in it, it leaves little divots. So I wish bounce back was a little better in some of these lycras, just as long as you're like not, you know, being really aggressive like I just was with it, it's fine. But this elastic, you can pull it all day and she bounces back. All right, so if you would like to buy some of this elastic, go to bradgstock.com. If you are interested in deeper shades of nude, please comment below or send me an email. I'm going to try to get some of this in. If there's interest, I hope there's interest. I would think there would be. So if you would like some of that, please comment below or shoot me an email, and I can try to get you some. And then with that being said, please like, subscribe, and comment on this video. That helps me, as you guys know. And if you would like to follow me and see what I got going on, you can of course follow me here on YouTube. But I also do a lot of posting, and where I get my main information out to people is on my Instagram. That's where you can see when you know, I'm posting a video. I normally put a little video saying new video out, but then I'm also doing little carousels of different costumes that I've done, and you can see all the details. So if you like to get up close and personal and see details, then you'll want to see my Instagram, because that's where I really can get some close-up shots of my beadwork and everything. And then plus I just put other random things on there, and any little, you know, if I'm selling elastic or selling my fabric boxes or do any of that kind of stuff, I normally put a post on there on my main feed, and then also in the story, so you can see it. So check out Instagram and Facebook. My Instagram just goes to my Facebook. Most of it does. And then if you want to check out my websites, my main website is bradgriffies.co, and then my stock website, where everything that's on there can ship right away, is bradgstock.com. And I'm hoping, you know, because I'm feeling like most people who are watching this video are not people who are interested in skating dresses, but interested in sewing. And so I want to start getting some like supplies on there for you guys. I do have the nude elastic that I use in my costumes that I use as a backing. It's a 2-way kind of light nude color. which I use in all of my costumes and is a really good base. I'm selling that now on bradgstock.com, but I'm hoping to get more, like I have a ton of fabric in here that has been sitting here and I haven't been using it. And I need to get rid of it. And maybe some of you guys can take that off my hands for me. So I will post on my Instagram when that happens. And I think I can actually, I can actually post here on YouTube. I can post little things that are happening as well. So just keep a lookout for when I do that, when I find time. Hopefully I'll find time at some point towards the end of the year when things get a little less busy. And you can buy some stuff for me. And then I also have my Amazon store. My Amazon store is a place where I have found things on Amazon that I use that I can link you to, and you can go and buy it. So if you're seeing something here that you like, if you like this pair of scissors, if you like, I have my Tuffy electric rotary cutter. I have my airbrush that I use, and the airbrush air thing that goes into it. What is that? A compressor. So you can check all that out there. And when you do that and you buy it after you click on it, that helps me because it gets a little push back to me. So please go over there and check those out. I'll have a link down below in the description. All right. I think that is it. This video, I think, is ending up being a little longer than I anticipated, so I get to talking too much. But hopefully you enjoyed the meat and potatoes of this video, which was how I put my elastic in my costumes. All right. I hope you have a beautiful day, and like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you on the next video.